Hey everyone, I got a really exciting interview for you today. We're bringing back a returning guest. We're bringing back Chris Jackson. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good.
Good,
How are
man.
you?
I'm doing great. I wanted to bring you back because you put out a Facebook post highlighting something that I think is going to be a meaningful business, probably for the next, certainly 3 years, and it might even go out further. And that is, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe equity workouts for general partners and limited partners in commercial real estate. I would
Yes,
obviously lean towards multifamily, but
me too.
yeah. So uh, first off, genius. I've kind of put this out there months ago that this is going to be a requirement and not really knowing how it would work. And then you put this post out. I'm like, dude, I got to talk to Chris again. So why don't you talk about the idea and we'll kind of break it down a little bit.
Sure. I mean, you in the last 6 years, you've had a lot more syndicators coming to the space, and then in the last
Amen.
three, I mean, it was kind of early actually when I think about it, 6 years ago. But in the last 3 years, you've just had a lot of people come into the syndication space. A lot of people partnering GPs, like 15 GPs, a ton of LPs into syndications to take down very large properties and sometimes even small properties. And now with the changing environment, you have delinquency issues coming up, and you're also going to have that coupled with inexperience on how to be an operator of a large building and not how to work with your investors, not how to work with your GPs. And then unfortunately, it's a recipe for some projects to not go as well as people want to. And most people believe that the solutions are just to dump it
Mhm.
or not do anything, and that
Yeah.
makes it worse.
Yeah. 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 No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I did a video, I don't know, sometime in the last 10 days. I do so many videos, I often forget. But there was an LP that was part of 8 different apartment buildings. And he sent me a note saying, hey, one of them, they've decided to give up the ghost. And it was because it was a new syndicator. Um, this syndicator had a full-time job in tech, and they thought it was easy. And they bought out of state in a C-class area. And now, they tried to do an equity raise. They called for capital, it didn't happen, and now they just, like you said, dumped the property. And what I'm excited about what you're doing is that's an option, but it's probably not the best option for long-term preservation. So,
I agree with that. Like unfortunately, it's going to create a scenario where you have a lot of predatory
yeah,
buyers with tons of cash that are going to show up and say, I'll get you out of this situation, but I'm going to buy it all cash and it's going to wipe you all out.
yeah, they're gonna say
And
something like, "I can get you out of this tomorrow." That's gonna feel good, right? Because it's like, hey, that nightmare's behind me. But in reality, if they come to someone like you, this workout scenario, maybe there's some limping or whatever you want to call it. There's a time frame, but the end result probably is or will be much better, I would assume.
there are going to be certain properties in the right areas where they were purchased at the right price, where the equity has a certain value, call it, let's just use simple numbers, $1 million of LP equity.
Yep.
And it's something that I would want to be a part of. I like the property, but I could dilute the equity's worth to
Yep.
500,000,
Mm-hmm.
but keep the LPs in
Yep.
to reach certain milestones. Then they would start to get part of the profits in the future to
Right.
become par. And if we stay in long enough and the project is successful enough, they could win.
Yeah.
Usually this would involve the GP. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a lot of ego. So it
Yeah.
would be the GP needs to say, thank you for saving, I'm going to be able to save face. I'm not a part of this anymore. I would present to the LPs as an experienced operator to give it a chance to not just dump for half value. Like everybody kind of comes to realization, we're going to sell the property and lose half of our principal. What if we go with Chris and we have a chance to
Yeah.
get back in the future?
Yeah. Well, I only have one example in the last week or so, but this individual, all the LPs were wiped out. Just every
No,
dollar.
right. And it doesn't, sometimes the debt's going to be too high.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out. But if everybody can get on the same page and you agree, you have a chance.
Yeah. And again, this is going to be, let's just say it how it is, right? Even in 2019, I wouldn't say I was screaming, but I was consistently saying there are too many syndicators. You can't learn syndications at a 299 course. you're gonna hurt a lot of people because you're overpaying. And I said that with experience. I was selling small apartments, for 7 figures. So there were syndications buying it, and I knew the property. I had held the property through the last recession. I knew what capital improvements were required short term, and they sold, they closed. And I'm like, oh, I cannot imagine owning those buildings today.
I mean, I'm still a buyer, so I'm bullish, but I'm a realistic bull. I like multifamily.
Yeah.
I like multifamily. We are on a flight to quality in most cases. So C-class properties, assets tend to need more maintenance that most people didn't give the respect for, like we talked about in the CapEx tsunami. So
I remember
that piece isn't getting the respect on what cost you have to pay for it to put in the right work. So I'm not finding a lot of C-class properties that meet that requirement for me right now, but I still find some things with a little bit of an arbitrage being created where if you're out there and hustling, and you got to be experienced to know what to do in the right areas, I can find a little bit of a delta to find great product that normally I was pushed out of.
That's great. So already, because I assumed it was we were still in price discovery mode where sellers for the most part were remembering January, and
they are.
Okay, cool. All right.
My negotiations are not fun.
No, honey, that's not worth 10 million. It's worth 6.2 million. Yeah, I got it.
Right, but it's just about having a system in place for actually mining for opportunities and not acting on them all.
All right, well, let's ask this question. Are you looking at more deals today than you were in January?
I looked the entire time. I never stopped. I'm in contract on one.
Oh, nice. All right. So, okay. That's cool. So what are you in contract on, rough numbers, and where?
I just have this thing. I normally don't talk about things while I'm in contract, but I'll give you overall.
Yeah, just overall.
It's actually smaller. It's between 20 and 60 units, and it's like a B++, A- asset that I get to come into at a 7 cap.
Okay, in or out of California?
Not in California.
I figured given the 7 cap, but I just wanted to ask. So cool. I like your, I was in sales for 20 years. So I'm like you, right? You don't talk about the deal till the deal's done. So I get it. No problem.
I gotta keep my head straight too. There's like, you gotta be able to, like, the deal's not done until it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back to what we're talking about today. Have you had any initial conversations about workouts or equity workouts already?
Yeah. I mean, I have had one that, like they kind of were, a confused mind says no, and I understand that. So they're not sure, what does this really mean?
Yeah.
And you kind of have to plant the seed to be like, there are options. That's all I can do right now. Right. And then I have to wait around and follow up to see if I can enlist the GP to present to the LPs.
Yeah.
Because if the LP comes to me also, the LP doesn't control the deal.
No.
They have to enlist the GP to relinquish control.
I'm curious, is there a list, or how would you market to GPs? Because again, the GP has to make that decision that this is potentially a better option.
Oh, I know a way.
You know a way? Okay, cool. Yeah, so you can.
I'm not going to tell anybody. That's mine.
That's fine. That's fine by me. So
I don't know many people that are doing this. The only people that are really doing it are big institutional guys, and they're used to doing big equity workouts.
Yeah.
But they're not going to pay attention to the smallers. It's just not worth the time. And that's where I feel I have an advantage.
Yeah. So smaller, probably what? I don't know. With smaller unit count, probably dollar amount, right? So
it's dollar amount.
Yeah. Sub 5 million.
You could have a 50, 60 unit that's A class, that's in trouble at 220 a door.
Yeah.
That a big institution might like.
Right. It's the volume.
So I'm going to say probably though, like, I think it's 10 million and up.
Yeah.
Property.
Yeah. So certainly 5 million and below. It's just not worth that Harvard graduate's time at the desk or whatever the hell they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, because there's like 1 in 20 is going to really work out because they're complicated, and you need a lot of people to say yes to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. There's a lot of people that have to say yes. You got to get them in the right state of mind. Some people are going to get to the point of these just being human nature, and they're going to be bitter, and they're like, no.
Correct.
Right.
And I mean, the thing is though, like, I think what I'm looking for is an opportunity. One, it gets me into deals that most people are going to wait until the foreclosure process happens. And then you're fighting with a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And that's a year from now. at best.
Yeah, it's that even a year might be early. I think getting in anytime you can fish in a pond that there's nobody in, even if it's small, if you're the only fisherman, you got all the fish, right?
Then you have some situations too where if it's a bridge loan situation on smaller debt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I could help out, but I'm also contending with the lender probably wanting to take the property back, which is
Sometimes, yeah.
gross. So, but somebody like me comes in, we've done deals. I can show up to the lender and be like, let's work something out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go after this. I have agreement from these people. I would like to get an extension by X.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's worth it,
Yeah.
and I want the property, like, and I have enough buy-in, I can work that out and give LPs a chance. Now, right. I know, so I've already had some people reach out to me and they're like, they've never done a deal before. And they're like, I want to do LP equity workouts. It's not going to happen, guys.
No,
you're not going to be able to convince a GP unless you've done deals.
No, I mean, let's just stop the madness right now. Being a GP, right? The last 3 or 4, it's not as easy as everybody makes it look like. Yes, you may have some rich friends who trust you and you can say some fancy vocabulary, but you're not going to be an operator in a recession with increased vacancies, eviction moratoriums, capital improvement needs. It's not going to be fun, right? You have a day job in many cases, like the example we talked earlier. Let the professionals play now, because you're talking about significant dollars that LPs
legal complexities.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
And I can tell you that during these last, I'm losing track of time. Like quarantine was a weird time warp. Like I 3-4 months. I've never worked harder.
Really?
I worked harder to be creative with our existing properties.
Ah, okay.
And it was like double downing on my pride to be an operator.
Well, let's talk more about that. I think people need to realize how hard it is to be an operator, because I think, man, I don't know what it is. I mean, I go back all the way back to the .com stock trading days in 2000. When it's easy, everybody comes in, and then suddenly, poof, it's not easy and it hurts and it's painful. Everybody runs away. You're staying in. So talk about the hard work the last 3 or 4 months.
It was just proactive communication, like managing different levels of granularity with residents that were having problems with COVID and working out payment plans. It was about proactive communication, concessions. We became better operators over the last 4 months, even beyond what I thought we were. And that I think that it's just a lot of thinking, a lot of strategizing, and then executing, testing things, what works, what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of operators got caught with like hoping that it would just work out or staying to their old plan. And you couldn't, there's no way you could do that. No, you had to change things up and try things like, give concessions, work out, like do workouts with people, like market better so you can have an influx of people in with demanding your units. That's one thing that I'm going to say is not getting talked about a lot is we're finding massively high demand for our units. Like that's a good thing. Like
sure.
Like I think that it's also a result of reputation management, reviews, word of mouth, so that when somebody wants to move out, they're like, where am I going next? You become top of mind, and you need that. Like
quality matters. Yeah. Quality matters. Well, I'm curious. One thing I knew I wanted to ask you coming into this, if it worked out, and guess what? It's working out is in this crisis, one of the things that I see as a risk that's different than all others is that Class A may not be the saving grace that it has historically been. And that's because I think a lot of the Class A, kind of the millennials and all of that, are financially stable. And what they may choose in this environment is, you know what, I want a backyard, I want a front yard, I need that extra bedroom. Space is good, as I call it. Mm-hmm. Is it possible that Class A could not be as strong as it was in past recessions? Because that's what everybody says, right? Got to own Class A in a recession.
I think that I think it's just kind of an overall maximum. If you paid too much for Class A and you don't have the ability to give concessions, you could be in trouble. I think though, if you priced it right at the right cap rate and you have your investors' expectations set correctly, you could have the nicest product around for a discount for a little while and make it through a year and then come back. Whereas the CapEx tsunami is building in C and B class at a rate that people just don't get. Like 1990 that was getting like 140 a door is 30 years old, people.
Exactly.
So like B class, oh, but I'm B class. I'm going to be good. Yeah, you're B class. You're going to be good? Question mark.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have some A class come down and downsize. But oh, the windows and the AC units that cost $2,500 to $4,500 a clip, they ain't working so well right now, and they require CapEx that comes from cash flow or elsewhere.
Or elsewhere, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing I don't think a lot of operators have appreciated is a lot of their plans talked about 3 or 4% rent inflation for forever. Sure. And that's just not going to happen for the next year or two, I would think.
So I'm going to agree and disagree, and I'm going to explain.
Awesome.
I am going to agree that I think that you should plan for year one to not go anywhere with rents and increase your physical and economic vacancy. That's prudent.
Cool.
However, with migration patterns and supply issues occurring, even in multifamily, if you buy in the right place with the right asset and you're doing your research, this doesn't just, it's not, I don't do broad statements. That's just not me.
Yep.
I'm too analytical. Like you can, if migration patterns from the city, Washington, DC, places that flight from density, and they don't have a lot of supply, and you buy under market, truly, not just this word that everybody uses, I bought and it's under market. It's actually under market, and you did your work to find a delta somewhere, a difference. Yes, I think that in year two, you can put your rents up. Now, to what you have to decide based on where you landed. But if you have supply constraints and absorption rate advantages, I think that you're just waving the conservative flag to be conservative then.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay.
So I think if you have those factors dialed in, I think that you could, because I'm actually seeing it right now on the project that we're in contract on. We're getting rent increase over like 5 to 10% over what we have.
Yeah.
But I don't have it in my pro forma, like for year one.
Right.
So like in case there's like a, oops, we gotta cut, or like that's fine. But I'm getting increase right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think I think the flight from density is real. I think it was a cute topic 2 or 3 months ago, but I think at this point it's real, which means like San Francisco, New York, you're going to have double-digit rent declines potentially.
Yes.
Right. But the suburbs,
right.
They're gonna, like, they could explode higher.
Like you could have areas like Phoenix right now. You could have Southern California say peace and like
I'm out.
Like even if and then Arizona, I forget where it's at with rent growth. I know it's been pretty high, but even if it experiences a like fear of decline, I feel like you would have enough migration coming there that it would buoy that.
Oh, for sure. I think so. Yeah. I think that is another thing that's going to happen. And I heard it talked about yesterday more and more with this whole work from home, you can live anywhere things. I think New York and California, very high tax states, are in for years of decline, right? Whether it's SoCal to Arizona, whether it's the Bay Area to Washington or Austin or wherever it is. I mean, gosh, it's going to be a problem in California and New York for a while in multifamily and frankly in single family homes, I think.
Yeah. I mean, what's also happening is, so you're getting in the New York area, which I don't invest in New York City. We have some stuff in upstate New York. That's a bit of a different market, but New York City, people are leaving the city. And I know I'm going to get the urbanites are like, yo, we will never leave. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's turning into a desert. Like it's not. But like people are leaving and going into New Jersey.
Yes.
But then the people in New Jersey who thought it was already dense are like, we're done. This is too dense. So then they leave.
Yeah.
And I think you move outward, and there is that flight from density, but you also do have urban needs. Like you want a secondary city to go out to eat outside.
Yeah.
So I do think secondary cities that provide that urban culture are going to do well.
Yeah. So
that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. But again, back New York, San Francisco, just to name the two cities, right now they aren't New York and San Francisco. Everything is shut down. Broadway's shut down, right? The restaurants are on the street. I mean, it's just, why pay extra? Plus, I mean, everybody remembers the last crisis, right? Today, space is good. That's going to be the outcome of this crisis. space is good. I need my office. My kids need to go to school at home, right?
We, on the property that we're in contract on, and it's something that people should look for. We have a finished basement, and we're going to put in 5 work from home, intra-building work from home offices.
Wow, that's creative. Like,
So
yeah.
we have the room to do more, or convert some of the storage spaces that we're going to add, because there's a demand for more storage. If the demand is high enough, we would just convert those to work from home offices too.
Very cool. And you would rent those separately, I'm guessing.
Yes, but not to outside people, only
to residents. Yeah.
To residents. And that gives you a safety lever too. If, say, you can't charge extra for it,
yeah,
you create an amenity that says, I need to live there.
Ah, that's unique. Look at you. So creative. So as you look out, I mean, it's really hard, right? My crystal ball is broken, but when you look out like 5 years,
I hate these questions, Mike.
I mean, again, right. I've been in real estate for 20 years, obviously more residential than commercial, but I feel pretty good about single family homes 5 years from now being worth more, right? Just supply, demand, inflation is coming, all of that stuff.
Yes.
I think multifamily is the same thing, right? You need water first, food second, shelter third. They haven't fixed that.
I think you're going to have a year from now blip, and like you're going to have like a higher cap rate. You're going to have inflationary price pressures just from disruption in the market. You're going to have the
risk assessment. Yeah.
Notes are going to be due, and that people have to sell.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that I think it's a great, hard assets are great. And I'm not anti single family. I actually think that what you talk about is great. I just couldn't scale. Like I had 60 single family homes at one point. I sold 30 of them. Like they were also, I don't think, the best types of assets. So I would have done better from the beginning, which I'm sure you teach.
Yeah.
But I do agree from the debt perspective that you have some of the lowest rates I don't know if we're going to see again, and they're fixed for 30 years. If you're an experienced operator and know how to do debt right, there are hybrid debt for multifamily right now that's really great, like 7-year fixed, step down prepayment penalties that are palatable. And then they're a 20-year note. They convert to floating at 7, but you don't have a 7-year bullet. You're not forced.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that gives you some pressure relief valve.
What are you seeing in, I mean, I guess you're in a deal now. So are you already talking to lenders? What are you seeing their appetite being?
Hungry. Just you can't be a noob and buy.
Okay.
Like you have to be buying right.
Yeah.
And experienced operator.
Have you refied any debt here in the last year or so?
No, I haven't. That's not something I would be looking. I'd be trying to push that out as much as possible on refi. What I've heard in the refi space is basically, I mean, this happens in single family homes too, where they won't let you cash out.
Yep.
Like no matter if you bought a property for $1 and put 100,000 and made it worth 800,000 legitimately, they'll give you $2 as a refi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's just sometimes lending just they get scared or conservative or whatever vocabulary you want to use.
It's the notion of the skin in the game. You have nothing to lose anymore. They cast you out. If things get bad, you're going to walk away.
Yeah.
But and I hear that in multifamily, the refis are not going to be as juicy. Even if you've done the right work to increase value, you're not going to get it right now. So I would probably, if you can, hang out.
Yeah. The whole 3-year bridge loan value add opportunity that was sexy in late 19s, not so sexy today.
Yeah, I mean, I would do a bridge loan right now. I'm actually looking at a big project that would require a bridge loan, but we're talking about like, I'm getting the basis I need. It's got 3 years plus 2 1-year extensions for safety.
Yeah.
It's a very rare situation. Yeah. I would not recommend somebody just run into that right now.
Yeah, very cool. So I'm curious, if there was an LP or a GP that watches this, how could they get a hold of you to start that conversation? Let's see if we can't make your phone ring.
So I think the best way would be to go to my website and just go to the contact form, sharplineequity.com.
Okay.
And just fill out the contact form. I'm pretty accessible on Facebook, but I just want everybody to understand that, like, I know I'm out there on Facebook, but when it comes to this stuff, this is super discreet. Like
Yeah.
I would sign an NDA and a CA for this kind of stuff. Like I don't, nobody will ever hear about this deal, even after
Exactly.
purchase.
Very good. So again, I will make Sharpline, sharplineequity.com, right?
Correct.
I'll just take your email and put it there. So if you are an LP or a GP, or you have one of your friends and family that are in a deal and they're whining over the kitchen table, make sure they get Chris's contact detail. Fill out the contact form. Again, it'll be in line 1 in the description. So hopefully we can get your phone to ring. Any other thoughts when you kind of think about loan workouts, kind of keys that people should reach out? You know, what are things they might be feeling that they should reach out and just have a conversation?
They're going to be feeling like they are only being presented with one option. And there are many. Like I may look at a project and say, this is a project I actually want to be a part of. Like it's being run poorly and is a good asset. You're being told by brokers and GP and maybe some other LPs that there's nothing we can do. And I don't necessarily believe that.
Yeah. There's never nothing you could do, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could be, I mean, there's so many options. Like there's partial dilution of equity. There's it might actually be like, it's not for me, but I don't think that you should there are actually times when you should inject some capital if it's done correctly. Like don't chase it and lose more. But there are times when it's like inject the capital and win.
Yeah.
But you need your GP to be driving that train.
Yeah. And again, I feel for the LPs, right? Because they don't have control and they have the most to lose. And unfortunately, there's a lot of GPs out there that have ego. That, again, in the one example we've talked about on the show twice now, he's basically turned his back, like, oh, that was a bad experiment, I'm out, right? So I would tell LPs. I think there's a lot of LPs that will hopefully watch this. I'll put LP in the title so it does the keyword search or whatever it is. If you're an LP in a deal, you need to reach out to Chris and have those conversations. Obviously, the GP needs to be on board. But my guess is there'll be LPs that feel the pain first and want help. So is that a fair?
Right. And there would be ways that I can chat with a GP just so they can get an understanding of the fact that they can essentially save face.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, and that's like, I think that I do think that it's a flee from the situation in a lot of cases, and it just makes it worse.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, Chris, I wish you nothing but success. I know you're going to help a lot of LPs. Again, I feel for them. There are a lot of syndications done in the last 2 years that probably shouldn't have been, but we got to deal with it now. You're in, right? Can't undo it. So let's make some lemonade out of lemons, right?
Press forward.
Press forward. All right, man. Thanks for your time, huh?
Thank you.